Lesson 12, Week 12 of 52. We're going to look at Deuteronomy 23 through Joshua 11 in our Through the Bible in 1 Year study. Last time we saw Moses lead the next generation of Israelites to the edge of Canaan, where he recited the second reading of the law. Moses continued to educate the next generation of Israelites of the 613 commandments in the law, covering a myriad of subjects in their relationship with God. To God's dismay, Malachi 2:16, divorce was rampant in the ancient times, so he instructed the Israelites how to prevent it, and limiting the circumstances when it could be used. When a man hath taken a wife, and married her, and it come to pass, he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement. He may not take her again to be his wife. Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war for 1 year. 24:5. This law was to show the importance of the home, in that the husband's military duty was delayed for 1 year upon being married. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thy hands. Deuteronomy 24:19. Permit me to reminisce a minute of my grandfather, who was a farmer, and he spent many years cultivating his crops just like this. As a boy, I used to help him. A sheaf placed in a shock and then brought to the threshing machine, where it separated the grain from the straw. The law of Moses showed mercy and help for the poor. As God had provided for the landowner, he would in turn provide for others who needed it. The same for the olive producer. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, for the widow. 24:20. The same for the grape harvest. 24:21. If there be a controversy between men, and they come into judgment, and the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man be worthy to be beaten before his face, according to the fault, by a certain number, 40 stripes he may give him, and not exceed. 25:1-30. The judge was to decide, and then ensure that appropriate punishment was carried out. Anything above 40 lashes could prove fatal, so the practice was limited to that or below, considering the degree of offense. This practice was used to deter future bad behavior. It used to be. The most famous case was our Lord's. Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. John 19:1. Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house divers measures, a great and a small, but thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days be lengthened in the land. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination of the Lord. 25:13 through 16. The Israelites were not to cheat in their business dealings like the Gentiles, but rather be honest, so that the Lord could bless them and give them long life in the land where he put them. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs 11:1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, and it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over Jordan unto the land, that thou set thee up great stones, and plaster them with plaster, and thou shalt write upon them all the words of the law. Therefore it shall be when you be gone over Jordan, that you shall set up these stones. Deuteronomy 27:1 through 6. Israel was to hold a dedication ceremony and to build a monument as proof that God had kept his promise of a land given to the Israelites. And there shalt thou build an altar unto the Lord thy God, an altar of stones. Thou shalt not lift up any iron tool upon them. 27:5. Deuteronomy chapter 28 lists the conditional blessings and curses concerning the land which they are about to enter. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the world, and all these blessings shall come upon thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Deuteronomy 28:1 and 2. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, for merchants. Blessed shalt thou be in the field, farmers. The fruit of thy body, fruit of the ground, cattle, sheep, the fertility of people, crops, and livestock. In the basket, thy store, there will be plenty of food to buy in the stores. When you come in and when you go out, joy in every part of life. Thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten. In other words, they will defeat the enemies of Israel with no problem. Deuteronomy 28:3 through 7. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, in the field, basket, the store, the fruit of thy body, fruit of thy land, livestock, when you come in and when you go out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Deuteronomy 28:15 through 20. If Israel rejected God by failing to keep his law, then merchants and farmers alike would suffer. Famine would ensue. Birth rates among man and beast would decrease. Life in general would be burdensome. Everything that Israel tried would fail miserably. The ultimate punishment for Israel's rebellion would not be the whole nation's relocation to a nearby country, Babylon, but a worldwide scattering. And you shall be plucked from off the land, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. Deuteronomy 28:63 and 64. This warning would come true in AD 70, when God would scatter the Jews to every nation in the world. The diaspora would last 2,000 years, until 1948, when he would begin to bring them back home, which he promised to do in preparation for the last days. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. Deuteronomy 28:65 and 66. Scattered among the Gentile nations, the Israelites, whom God had promised peace and security if they obeyed him, would now suffer insecurity, fear of survival, day in and day out, reaching such a low point in their existence that no nation would even want them as slaves as they had been in Egypt. And no man shall buy you. Deuteronomy 28:68. That would be the plight of the Israelites during the worldwide diaspora that lasted 2 millennia. And he, Moses, said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go in and come out. Also the Lord hath said unto me, Thou shalt not go over the Jordan. 31:2. Moses knew his days were numbered. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua, and present yourself in the tabernacle, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went. 31:14. What did God tell Moses and Joshua? And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have with them. Deuteronomy 31:16. The news could not have been worse. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? I surely hide my face, in that they are turned unto other gods. Deuteronomy 31:17. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had tolerated much from his chosen nation, but one thing he would not tolerate was the Israelites worshiping false gods. That was the greatest disrespect they could possibly show him, and for which he would withdraw his presence from among them. He would turn his face from them. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book, he commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant, take this book of the law, and put it in the side of the ark, that it may be there for a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion, and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive, how much more after my death, children in whom is no faith. Deuteronomy 31, 26, 27, and 32, verse 20. Moses served God like no other until this time. And Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel, which ye shall command your children to observe to do, all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. And through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whither you go over Jordan to possess it. Deuteronomy 32, 45 through 47. Moses' life came to an end, but not before God showed him Israel's promised land. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land. This is the land which I swear unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. But no man knoweth his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab for 30 days. Deuteronomy 34, 1 through 8. Moses said of God, I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Psalms 91, verse 2. And Joshua, the son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and the wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land, and in all that mighty hand, and in all the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of all Israel. Deuteronomy 34, 9 through 12. The mantle had now been passed to Joshua, who was chosen of God to bring the Israelites into their promised land. But was his faith strong enough to make up for the lack of faith shown by the nation? That was the question. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Joshua 1, verses 1 and 2. Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim had been Moses' young assistant, but after his death, he became the God-chosen leader of Israel. It would be up to him to fulfill God's next part of the plan, leading the nation across the Jordan River and into Canaan, the land of promise. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life, as I was with Moses. So I will be with thee. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Joshua 1:5. Their land was a gift from God, but with his help, they would have to fight for every inch of it. And Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host, and command the people, saying, Prepare you victuals or meals, for within 3 days ye shall pass over this Jordan, to go in to possess the land, which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it. Joshua 1:11. The commander's first order of business was to heed God's declaration to prepare to cross, and they would need enough food to survive for 3 days until they got a foothold in Canaan. His second order of business was to remind the 2.5 tribes, Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, who had taken possession of the land east of the Jordan River, that they had promised to fight with the other tribes to help conquer the land, which they agreed to do. Joshua 1:16 through 18. And Joshua sent 2 men to spy secretly, saying, Go view the land, even Jericho. And they went, and into a harlot's house named Rahab, and lodged there. Joshua 2:1. The spies were led to Rahab's house, where they found refuge to carry out their covert mission. It was an act of grace, in that God used a harlot who came to believe God. In Hebrews 11:31 it says, by faith, the harlot Rahab. I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. 2:9. As God said they would. I will send my fear before thee. Exodus 23:27. For hiding the spies, Rahab made one request, to save her family when Israel destroyed the city, to which they agreed they would be spared. 2:12 through 14. Then they left. And Joshua rose early in the morning and came to Jordan. When you see the ark of the covenant, and the priests, the Levites, bearing it, then you shall remove from your place and go after it. Joshua 3:1 through 3. No longer would Israel follow the cloud, but instead the ark of the covenant, which represented Christ himself. It was at flood stage in the spring, during the first grain harvest, and just like the Red Sea, the water stopped flowing to allow the Israelites to walk on dry ground. Then the water returned to normal. To remember the day, Israel erected a stone memorial. Joshua 4:5. As the Canaanites watched the 2 million Israelites cross the Jordan River, their heart melted. Joshua 5:1. But God had other important business before they attacked. At that time, the Lord said unto Joshua, Make these sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. Joshua 5:2. Before they took possession of the land, the Lord had all the second generation of Israelites circumcised. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho, 5:10. The second thing Israel did was to keep the Passover. The third thing they did was to feast on local food, and they did eat of the corn on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes. The manna ceased. Joshua 5:11. Joshua was by Jericho. He lifted up his eyes and looked. A man with his sword drawn. Art thou for us? Said Joshua. 5:13 and 14. Who is it? It's a Christophany, telling Joshua that the Lord was leading the fight to take Jericho and all the land in front of them. Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. Joshua 5:15. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thy hand Jericho. You shall compass the city, all you men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets. And the 7th day you shall compass the city 7 times. And the priests shall blow with the trumpets, a long blast. When you hear, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat. So that the people went up into the city, and they took the city. Joshua 6, 1 through 5, and verse 20. Archaeological evidence shows the walls fell straight down instead of falling outward, just as the Bible says. The children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. For Achan took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. Joshua 7:1. Ai, the next city to conquer, deemed easy to defeat. So Joshua sent a small group, 3,000, but were soundly defeated. 7, 2 through 5. Joshua was devastated and asked God why. God told him that someone had taken an accursed thing, a spoil of war, which they had been forbidden to do so. Joshua 7, 10 through 12. They found Achan and the booty, an expensive garment, silver and gold, and he and his family were put to death in the valley of Achor, the valley of trouble. Joshua 7, 18 through 26. God's faith in Israel was restored, and they conquered Ai. Joshua 8, 1 through 35. Joshua chapters 9 through 11 record a series of victories and Israel's conquest of Canaan. And Joshua took the whole land, according to all that the Lord said unto Moses. Joshua gave it for an inheritance unto Israel according to their divisions by their tribes, and the land rested from war. 11:23. After the early defeat at Ai, Joshua and the Israelites did as God commanded, and they defeated the southern, central, and finally the northern territories. Next time, Joshua, the last great leader of Israel, passes away to be replaced by a government of judges. We're going to study Joshua 12 through Judges 7.